and somebody told me that the podcast was having a party tonight. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, welcome to episode 6 of the Caps Locks and Chair Shots podcast. My name is Ed Burkeen. You can find me at realsport101.com, covering baseball and the world of wrestling. With me is my newest tag team compatriot. He is the unfunny comedian, Alex out of the people.
Hello. I have nothing interesting to say this week.
I can tell. And with us is the muscle of the podcast, future MMA fighter and hopeful voice of the Philippines, the one, the only, the Jaime. Say hi to the people, Jaime.
I may have lost a ton of weight due to CrossFit, but guess what? I'm still awesome, so let's roll.
We're going to do something a little bit different on today's episode, trying something new in the ever-evolving world of the podcast business. Instead of breaking the action down segment by segment, show by show, because if you're listening to us, chances are you've already seen the shows, we're just going to give you our opinion on everything that's happened in the wrestling world. What was your moment of the week? What was the one thing that stood out to you across all 3 shows for the WWE?
The Fashion Police Special London's unit.
Yes, I can't say yes enough. Jaime, what was the one thing that made you go crazy for? What was your mark-out moment of the week?
The craze of the X Division in Impact Wrestling.
Absolutely, one of the best. And actually, you know what? I say one of the best. Impact this week probably had the 2 best matches of the week, and they opened and closed. They bookended that show with the X Division match between...
It's Andrew Everett and Desmond Xavier and Caleb Connolly.
There you go. So Andrew Everett, Desmond Xavier, Caleb Connolly, and Matt Sydal in 4-way action for the X Division. And let's just for a second, since we're talking about Impact, 2 big things happened from Impact. Number 1, GFW World Heavyweight Championship match between Magnus and between Alberto El Patron. Gentlemen, let me hear your thoughts.
I don't think I saw this match, actually.
Then you're missed out. That was the match of the week. So we're just going to disregard you. Jaime, what did you think of the match?
I liked the match. The match was good, but I didn't like the ending, to be honest. There's something about losing via submission rather than losing via pinfall. In my opinion, it made Magnus look weak that he had to tap out instead of a strong finish from El Patron.
Well, let's not forget that Magnus had already gotten to the ropes during one of the attempts to lock on that cross arm breaker by El Patron. So he actually did get out of it once. I don't have as much of a problem with the ending of that match as much as the timing. It seemed very, very rushed. If you're going to have Magnus lose via a submission, let him be locked in that submission for a minute, maybe longer, not 10 seconds and him tap out when he was in it for 30 seconds earlier in the match and was able to get to the ropes. It just seemed to me like the ending was very rushed because the episode was coming to an end. They edited stuff out of there that really needed to be in that match. Let's talk about the most disappointing moment of the week. We'll call this one the jobber moment of the week. What made you hate wrestling this week?
Well, I didn't like the Sasha Banks versus Alicia Fox match. I think it was forced upon, you see. Like, where did the booking for that match even come from? Was there a backstory?
Well, I think that was the whole Raw in general. You know, I was reading that Dave Meltzer actually came across and said that the entire script for Raw was scrapped because of the Strowman injury. So everything was just kind of up in the air, and we'll get a lot more direction next week. Jobber moment of the week.
Honestly, I'm probably going to be in the minority of people with this one, but I'm going to say the LAX Funeral for Decay.
No, you're not in the minority. You are not. That was a flat segment. You know, I dig that the Veterans of War came out, and, you know, that feud looks promising, but why did they keep showing Abyss up in the rafters if he wasn't going to do anything? Why have him up there if he's not going to come down? You know, I would almost rather it be Abyss came down from the rafters to break up the funeral, LAX attacks him, and completely writes off Abyss, and then we have Joseph Parks come in to mitigate the feud between JB and Josh Matthews. That would have been fine. Veterans of War still could have come out after Abyss was laid to waste, and it would have been perfect. But you are not alone. I thought it was terrible. And the fact that they're still selling AJ Styles merchandise, they're still mentioning Crazy Steve, they still got Samoa Joe in the signature of the show.
It's They may have changed their name, but it's TNA at the core.
Yeah, they're turning a corner, but it's not a very big corner to turn. Moving on, if you guys had to pick right now, who is your one performer that blew you away last week? Let's go with you, Alex.
Honestly, Roman Reigns. I guess it was more down to the booking, but the way he just absolutely destroyed Braun on Raw, like, that's the type of Roman we need to see more of.
I agree with you on that, and honestly, I think that the writers were gambling on something and they lost. Like, as much as Reigns has been beaten down by Strowman, and I know nobody wishes injury upon anybody, but it would have benefited the WWE writers a hell of a lot more if Roman was the one that screwed up his shoulder and not Strowman. If Roman screws it up, now Roman is poised for a big comeback. Strowman being billed as this monster, being billed as this huge man, and then he gets injured and then gets destroyed by a guy he's literally spent months beating the hell out of. But yeah,
I mean, there's no way he's not coming back as a babyface now, right?
Oh, absolutely. Honestly, I think he comes back and they bill him as more of a monster. I mean, I don't exactly know who's bigger than Roman that you can take out, although I have heard some rumors that if he's not going to take on Lesnar at Great Balls of Fire, he will take him on at SummerSlam. So he has to beat down Brock at SummerSlam. Jaime, am I wrong on that? That's the only way Strowman can come back?
Yeah, book him as the strong one. Pass the torch from Brock Lesnar to Strowman, because you don't expect Brock to be holding the title without showing up, right? So you need someone to put the title on TV on a weekly basis. So yeah, Strowman's the right guy at the moment.
Yeah, and
coming from me. From me.
Exactly. Now, one thing that I've heard a lot of people criticize the WWE for this, and that is the fact that Brock hasn't been seen on TV in a couple of months. So where's the 30-day rule that cost Shawn Michaels titles, that cost Stone Cold Steve Austin titles when he broke his neck? Either of you guys care to weigh in on that? Is that a big thing for you guys?
My understanding of the rule has always been that they can't have been injured for more than 30 days. There's nothing saying that you have to you have to defend it within 30 days, just that you can't be out of action for more than 30 days. That's my understanding of the rule.
Okay, Jaime, is this a big deal to you? This lack of seeing the WWE Universal Champion?
Depends on who holds the title, but since it's Brock Lesnar, what do you expect? He doesn't really talk, he needs a mouthpiece. It doesn't matter since it's Brock who holds it, but if it was somebody else, it would have mattered more.
And you see, that's the thing. I love Paul Heyman to death. He's my personal hero for everything that he's done, but when they've given Lesnar the microphone, he hasn't been terrible. He's proven on podcasts that he can cut promos and he can carry conversations. He's not a bad guy. And honestly, I think Paul Heyman can be used to enhance other talent the way he did Lesnar when he first started. Brock Lesnar, when he came in, was just another big guy, but Paul Heyman made him into what he was. They can do the same thing. You know, maybe, I don't know, down the road you see Apollo Crews turn on Titus O'Neil and join up with Paul Heyman. And you get another big guy, you know, big smile, and Paul Heyman, you know, doing what he does for his talent. That brings us to our feature topic of the week, and that is stables. Okay? Now, Paul Heyman, he had the Dangerous Alliance in several different organizations, including the WCW. Bobby Heenan had a family. Obviously, there's the Four Horsemen, D-Generation X, the NWO, Evolution. Now, I'm going to ask you guys a trivia question here. Out of the 6 groups that I've mentioned, which group has the record for the most world title reigns?
NWO?
No.
Did you list off Evolution? Because I guess it would have to be that.
Evolution is the correct answer, yes.
Oh, yeah.
51 world championships. That's if you count Ric Flair with 18, because he is a 9-time NWA champion, a 7-time WCW champion, and a 2-time WWE champion. Hunter has, I think 13. Batista has 7, and Orton's got 13 now. So, I mean, I think my math's off there, but it wound up being 51. There's actually a piece on Real Sport 101 that will be out that I did on Evolution, and, you know, some interesting things about Evolution. You know, we spoke a few weeks ago, Jaime, about Mark Jindrak.
Oh, yeah.
About how he was supposed to be the big guy, the Batista role for that. and how things things definitely changed. But there were a few other things as well. I'm going to ask you both, who's the biggest movie star to come out of there? Come out of those four? Who's the biggest star? Obviously. Ric Flair, for all of his spectacularness. You know what his feature movie role on IMDb is besides the ESPN documentary chronicling his life? Leather-faced man, Magic Mike XXL. 18-time world champion, is a male stripper.
Was he in that? I don't remember him.
He had a credited role. I was doing research for the piece. He was in Magic Mike XXL. And honestly, I am kind of happy that you don't remember Ric Flair being in a male stripper movie. I wish we could forget the two feature roles that Triple H was in.
Hold on, are you telling me that you don't remember the one where he was on that school bus with all the kids? The chaperone, yeah.
Yeah, the chaperone, yeah. But he also beat the hell out of Ryan Reynolds in Blade Trinity, too. There's actually a behind-the-scenes piece that used to air on WWE Confidential. They used to air it about once a month, showing the filming of that particular scene. Orton is the only active wrestler left. Dave Bautista was on Talk is Jericho podcast, saying that he has spoken to the WWE about coming back. My question for you guys is, would you be interested in seeing Dave Bautista come back under these circumstances? He said he would only come back if he were to work a program with Triple H. He's not interested in any of the new guys. He's not interested in anybody but Hunter. Are you interested in seeing Batista, Triple H at a WrestleMania?
Definitely. There's a good backstory to that, given how Batista's last run was when he quit Evolution because Triple H did not live up to his promise, because he promised Batista the world when he returned. So, given that unfinished business, and there's a good backstory, which maybe Evolution would also be brought up in the process, so it's going to be a good story. But match-wise, I don't know right now.
Okay.
But for the storylines, yes, it's a good deal.
Well, here's the thing. Batista is, as of Guardians of the Galaxy 2, not just the wrestling guy who went into acting. He is a legitimate actor. He proved he has real acting chops. If they could get him back to do a year-long thing where it builds up to that match with Triple H, yeah, I would watch it. I would be fine with it. But honestly, I'm more interested in seeing him just do more acting.
Okay, well, I mean, you say he's got legit acting chops. Well, let's not forget the most famous guy to go from the WWE to acting is The Rock. And we've seen him back wrestle matches. He even had a short world title run a couple of WrestleManias ago. So there's nothing, and that was after he did the first Fast and the Furious movie. That was after the Scorpion King and all this other stuff, and the Tooth Fairy. Let's not forget the cinematic masterpiece that was The Tooth Fairy.
Oh, God.
Underrated hockey movie. And by underrated, I mean nobody liked it, and many more people should have hated it. That being said, I don't think it's out of the realm of possibility. It's just a matter of, does the WWE want it?
I can't imagine they do.
I wouldn't say so, especially the way things are running right now, and with his terrible reaction that Batista got when he came back as Blue Tista in the Royal Rumble, and I don't know how much of that was because Daniel Bryan didn't come out at 30 and it was Batista, but I don't see him coming back at all, especially for a retirement match. And speaking of a retirement match, he went away quietly. We haven't seen him in a long time, and he was part of one of the stables we're going to talk to about here in a little bit in the Ministry of Darkness and in DX for a little while, and that's Kane. You know, he's running for mayor of Boone County or some county in Tennessee. He just went away. You know, he's been kind of on again, off again, whether he's Corporate Kane or the Big Red Machine or the Devil's Favorite Demon or whatever. Now that The Undertaker is retired, are we going to see Kane get that one last match through Hellfire and Brimstone at maybe a WrestleMania or at a SummerSlam or maybe a pay-per-view that's more befitting of him? Great Balls of Fire has fire in it. He's known for fire. I'm just saying it lines up for something there if it wasn't an election season. But would you be interested in seeing a Kane retirement match, and against who, Alex?
Probably not. Because Kane is a big, tall man who couldn't really do all that much when he was younger, other than, like, big boots and choke slams.
Oh, I beg to differ. Kane was one of the more athletic big guys. In fact, he was coming off the top rope around the same time The Undertaker was, and Kane was probably a little bit bigger. But continue.
But anyway, I don't think I'd be interested in it again, unless it was like against someone he had a lot of history with, but there aren't too many of those left that are actively wrestling. There's, I guess, X-Pac.
X-Pac's got to get out of jail first.
Oh, that's right. He got arrested, didn't he?
Yeah, he sure did.
Only if it's against The Undertaker. You know, a good scenario would be nobody wins that match. You see, like in the middle of the match, the lights go dark, and then all that's left in the middle of the ring is Undertaker's hat and Kane's mask. Something like that. Something
or two urns.
That's the same type of stuff that people were saying about Sting. Like they wanted to see Sting's baseball bat and Undertaker's hat, and that's just pure fantasy booking.
No, and it's 100% right, but we're getting to the point to where that's the only thing that's going to make people happy, is all these fantasy scenarios that, you know, the WWE needs to build a time machine so they can bring back, you know, Hulk Hogan back in his prime so he can take on John Cena and retire Cena. All this fantasy crap is the only thing that's going to make 100% of the people happy. There's no real fitting way for Kane to retire. The best thing he could do is to do what he did, and that's just quietly off into the sunset. Everybody's so caught up in this nostalgia thing where they want to say goodbye to their heroes. They want to have that one last moment, have that Ric Flair moment at WrestleMania, have that Shawn Michaels and Triple H and The Undertaker, you know, holding each other up as they go up the ramp, having all of that stuff. And, you know, that's fine for nostalgia purposes, but it wouldn't fit Kane's character. It really didn't fit The Undertaker's character. The Undertaker shouldn't have lost clean. The Undertaker shouldn't have been shown leaving a broken man that he was. It doesn't fit Kane. The only thing for Kane to do is to just go away, have JBL make an offhand mention 6 months from now about how, boy, it's kind of weird we haven't seen Glenn Jacobs here in a while. And that would be the last mention of Kane. He can work behind the scenes if he doesn't win the mayoral race, and we go from there. I mean, you look at some of the great names that haven't had retirement matches. Has Hulk Hogan had a retirement match? A legit retirement match?
No.
Did Randy Savage have a retirement match?
Do you count the one in TNA?
No. Nothing from that era in TNA counts. Period. Nothing. Nothing. But, you know, Ricky the Dragon Steamboat never had a retirement match. Roddy Piper.
Did he have one at Mania against Jericho?
That wasn't a retirement match. That was just, hey, Ricky Steamboat's 65 years old and can still hang with Chris Jericho.
Oh. Well, I mean, that was his last match, though, so that's a retirement match.
No, I'm talking about a no-shit. Everybody knows this is this guy's very last match. He's not going to wrestle again, although I think Flair still wrestles. But it's billed as, at least on the Underground, a retirement match. I don't think Kane is the right character to actually have this moment. He doesn't need it. What is a retirement match going to add to Kane? It's not going to add anything to his legacy. Losing is not going to help him. Anybody beating him is not going to help him, you know. Reigns beating The Undertaker, it helped, believe it or not, Roman Reigns, because it put so much heat on him that even the smarks who were booing him 3 months ago were coming to his aid and saying, you know what? Wasn't terrible, and he was put in a bad position, so we're going to cheer for him now. And everybody thought that it was the worst freaking decision for Reigns to retire The Undertaker. And look at him now. I can argue he's getting more cheers now than what he did in February. Anyway, let's move on. Let's go ahead and talk about another stable, and that's the Ministry of Darkness. On my quest to watch every Raw ever made, I am currently in a standstill somewhere around March of 2000, heading into that WrestleMania. The Ministry has just broken up in my timeline. The Ministry gave launch to a bunch of future stars. You had the APA coming together. Ron Simmons went from being just a big, powerful token black guy in the NWA and early in WCW to being the leader of the nation, and now he's a beer-drinking badass with Bradshaw, who was destined for greatness, but injuries derailed him. It gave launch to Edge and Christian and the Brood with Gangrel. It gave launch to Viscera. It gave launch to Mideon for all of Mideon's great things that he ever did. And it helped The Undertaker. So, the biggest star to come out of the Ministry of Darkness, Edge, Bradshaw, or somebody else.
Discounting The Undertaker?
Discounting The Undertaker.
I guess it would have to be Edge.
Agree, Jaime?
Oh yeah, definitely.
So you guys are going to sit there and tell me that the Rated R Superstar is a bigger superstar than the wrestling god that is JBL?
Well, first of all, screw JBL, that piece of garbage bully. Second of all, more casual fans know Edge than JBL, so yes.
More casual fans know JBL because Edge tried to have sex with Lita in a live sex celebration. That's why people know Edge.
Well, because in terms of accomplishment, Edge has more world title reigns. He had more interesting storylines. Because as for JBL, it all came late to him. At what age, at what point in his career did he become a WWE champion? It was already the time that they're almost going to pass that torch to John Cena.
Well,
so
he was the one that
it just came too late for him. It could have been.
He was the one that passed the torch to Cena. Cena's first title reign came at the expense of John Bradshaw Layfield. But you both are wrong, and let me tell you why. Edge, for all of his greatness, and he was great, and I love Edge. He was great on the mic. He was, his TLC matches are legendary. Some of the rest of his matches where he wasn't flying around the place and where he wasn't dependent on the Hardys, they weren't all that fantastic. Plus, Edge had a lot of good stuff because he was head-to-head with John Cena. Back when John Cena was the battle-rapping guy that he was, back when they could sit there and they could call Lita a slut on national television and it'd be okay. Back when he could, straight out say he shook hands with Lita last week and he gave her gonorrhea. That promo was one of the best ever, by the way. JBL didn't have that. Who is JBL feuding with? Kurt Angle? Kind of. Who is JBL? Booker T? JBL and Booker T, I'm sorry. Even on paper, that's not something I want to watch. You put JBL against Cena more than just the 3 months that they had him, it would have been so much better for JBL's career. Edge wound up being a bigger star, and if he hadn't hurt his neck, would have been an even bigger star. But in my opinion, JBL was better. While Edge was sitting there and being the squeaky clean tag team guy, JBL was throwing D-Generation X around Tim White's bar. They were destroying that bar on numerous occasions, and they were making better television than Edge and Christian. Let's talk about another faction, and this is another Ric Flair faction, the Four Horsemen. Now, we all know the history of the Four Horsemen, how they were pretty much the best thing going for the longest time. And, much has been written about the stuff that Flair used to do with them, and, there's a party in Richmond denied, and, the Four Horsemen, and, Arn Anderson, Tully Blanchard, Ollie Anderson, or whoever you want to throw in there with J.J. Dillon. What do you guys know about the Horsemen? Let's start there.
Not my era, so I don't know much about him, or them, I should say.
You're killing me, Smalls. Jaime, tell me you know about the Horsemen.
Well, I only got bits and pieces, not the original one, but I've heard more on the latter part where Chris Benoit and Barry Windham, if I'm not mistaken, were part of it.
I can forgive you guys for not knowing who Magnum TA was. Not a lot of people do. He hasn't wrestled in about 30 years, but not knowing who the Horsemen are is a borderline unforgivable. It pains me.
Honestly, here's the thing. I've tried to go back and watch a lot of the WCW and NWA stuff on the network, and it's just boring as hell to me.
You don't need to watch it for the wrestling, because I'll be the first to tell you, wrestling in the 1980s, there wasn't a lot of high flying. There wasn't a lot of hardcore. It was a lot of, 2-minute chin locks. And, a guy gets a roll-up to get a victory. And there weren't a lot of special moves. And I get that. It wasn't fantastic. But the thing that made the NWA and wrestling TV in the 1980s great were the promos. Don't even go to the network. Go to YouTube. Look up some of Ric Flair's greatest stuff. And if you're not completely blown away with how great Ric Flair was with the Four Horsemen, you just don't need to watch wrestling anymore, because he literally is the basis for everything that promos have been done for the last 30 years. Without Ric Flair, none of this even happens. It's something that every wrestling fan needs to watch. And the fact that you guys don't know the Four Horsemen, it hurts me. Since you don't know about the Four Horsemen, let's go to the other big name in the WCW. Let's talk about the NWO. Now, at one point, the NWO, or at any given point, the NWO has had 64 confirmed members of their brand. It was originally brought in as an intention to be a separate and equal company to WCW, creating a counterculture, according to Eric Bischoff, as far as what the NWO was compared to what WCW was. They were set to be invaders, set to change the face of wrestling, and they did it with one of the biggest men to ever wrestle in Kevin Nash, and the biggest name in wrestling history, and Hulk Hogan. Out of the three members of the NWO, Jaime, Scott Hall, Kevin Nash, Hulk Hogan, which one was the best overall, not just on the mic, but counting in ring action as well?
I should say Scott Hall. You see, he didn't get a lot of title reigns like, let's say, your Nashes or your Hogans, but he's pretty much underrated in the ring, you see. Despite the drug problems in the past and everything, he's been known to put up good matches. Okay. Even better than Hogan.
Absolutely.
To be honest.
And honestly, I was kind of fishing for you to say Hall, because I completely agree with you. You look at the matches that Kevin Nash had, they're not great. You know, Hulk Hogan is the biggest name in wrestling history, but the stuff he did with WCW, I'm sorry, Hulk Hogan should have never been a heel. It was the best storyline that probably ever created, but it made for some of the worst matches. And I will forever hold a grudge between Hogan and Nash for the finger poke of doom. You guys know what the finger poke of doom is, right?
Yes.
The NWO. Can you name somebody that maybe should have been in the NWO that wasn't?
Sure. Well, there aren't a lot of people in WCW that weren't in the NWO, so that's the thing. Like, there were so many people in the NWO that adding more people would have just even more oversaturated it than it already was. But, like, let's say that you didn't add Virgil or any of these
Rick
other
Rude
jobbers that they put
or Conan.
And, well, Conan was alright.
You and I will disagree on that.
I guess, Chris Jericho, maybe?
That is true. Jericho was never in there. I was thinking more along the lines of maybe Ric Flair, Eddie Guerrero.
Well, no, because the NWO was supposed to be that counterculture thing, so you put these older guys in there, then it's not going to be so counterculture.
They had everyone but 7 people at one point on the entire Nitro roster with the NWO. Now, it got brought back after the invasion angle in early 2002 to be the cancer that was going to end the WWE, end my creation, I'm Vince McMahon, Was it the right thing to do? Was it the right thing to do for the WWE to bring back the NWO just so we could build toward a Hogan Rock match at WrestleMania?
Yes, it was the right thing for them to do to bring the NWO back, but not at that time and not in that way. Honestly, they should have just brought them back during the invasion, but, you know, I guess if they didn't want to blow that much money, then fine.
Well, it wasn't about blowing that much money. It was the fact that contracts legit couldn't be reached because of the buyout deal with AOL Time Warner.
I believe they did have the option to buy out the contracts from Warner, but they just didn't want to spend that much money.
Well, that was the thing. They had the option to buy those contracts at an exorbitant amount, but we're going to get into the whole death of WCW next week. There's a lot of stuff I want to cover, and it may be the topic of the special me and the real Danny D are going to feature later on this week. Jaime, let's go to you. The match between The Rock and Hulk Hogan wasn't known for its technical prowess. It wasn't known for being an instant classic. I have said it before and I'll say it again, it is my favorite WWE match ever. What were your thoughts?
To me, I'm not really a fan of Hogan in the ring ever, you see. I like his promos, but I never really liked him in the ring. That's why I already had a prejudice going into that match. But the matchup is good on paper. The build-up, the promos that the two could produce will be good, but I'm not really a fan of the match itself, you see, the action as a whole, because I was never a fan of Hogan's in-ring ability.
You're wrong, and I'm going to tell you why. Hulk Hogan is the biggest star ever. The Rock was the biggest star, with all due respect to Steve Austin, going at that time. If you're watching that match for its moves, you're wrong. If you're watching that match for anything other than the first 10 minutes, you're going to be disappointed. But when you have Hulk Hogan come out, when you have The Rock come out, and they are nose-to-nose in the ring, and the crowd, 70,000 people in Toronto, half of them are chanting for The Rock, half of them are chanting for Hogan, and before the bell even rings, you get a "This is awesome" chant. It was truly the passing of a torch. It was truly something that was fantastic to watch, because you never thought you were going to see this with Hogan in WCW, and The Rock being the people's champion in the WWE, and vowing he would never leave. When Hogan and Nash and Hall didn't show up for the invasion angle, along with Goldberg, along with Sting, along with just about every big name in WCW, you thought you were never going to see it. And then that little spark, the beginning of the snark in all of us, every one of us that have ever sat with their buddies and thought, man, it would be cool to see Steve Austin and Bruno Sammartino. Hogan and Rock was one of those matches everybody clamored to see, and we finally got to see it. That's what you watched that match for, because it wasn't for every move, it was for the history of that match. It was for what it meant to the industry. You know, we never saw Flair and Bruno. We never saw Sting and Austin. We never saw two of the biggest names ever go at it. You know, we never saw Flair Austin. We never saw Flair Rock. But two of the men that are arguably two of the best ever faced off in a match. And, you know, the in-ring work wasn't terrible. But the first 10 minutes where the crowd is electric, and after, you know, Hogan throws The Rock into the ropes and he falls back and he stands up and he looks and the camera cuts to Hogan, he's sitting there doing his poses. I don't care who you are. If you ever watched wrestling from 1980 to 2001, you marked out for that moment. Because you saw the immortal, the Hulkamania leading Hulk Hogan eating his vitamins and saying his prayers with his 24-inch pythons come back and go one-on-one with the great one, and it was fantastic. Let's talk about the group that some people claim was ripped off of the NWO. Some people claim the NWO was ripped off of them. Talking about D-Generation X. Now, there have been really 3 incarnations of DX. Shawn Michaels, Triple H, and Chyna. Triple H, Chyna, X-Pac, and the Outlaws. And then the last one was just Shawn Michaels and Triple H. Jaime, what was your favorite DX?
I like the one with Triple H, Chyna, and the X-Pac, the New Age Outlaws. And was Shawn Michaels with them that time?
No,
Refresh my memory.
Shawn Michaels was injured. He had lost his smile at that point, and then he became WWF commissioner and was loosely affiliated but not quite linked to. So no,
yeah,
he was not with him.
That D-Generation X, the one with Triple H and the New Age Outlaws, that was like the midst of the Attitude Era. Am I right? That's right.
Yes, that was in fact, the genesis of D-Generation X, which took place the night after Shawn Michaels lost the WWE title to Stone Cold Steve Austin with Mike Tyson as a guest referee. The next night was when Triple H brought X-Pac back to the WWE, and that was one of the culminations of the Attitude Era, so yes.
Yeah, because I already mentioned that I was more of a WCW guy back in the Attitude Era. But when I get to watch bits and pieces of the WWF back then, it was always that D-Generation X, the one with the New Age Outlaws. So I like that. That's what got me hooked to both WWE and the WCW. Right. So yes, that's what I prefer.
Well,
out of all the DXs.
In large part, the reason that you see that is because a lot of the stuff that Shawn Michaels and Triple H did with Chyna before Shawn Michaels lost to Austin at WrestleMania, they can't really show a lot of it because it was very risque, and a lot of what they did, well, they almost got Raw canceled because of certain segments that they did, so it's understandable why you don't see a lot of that Alex, is that era your favorite for DX as well?
I've seen the Shawn Michaels Triple H China one, and I've seen the Shawn Michaels Triple H one from the mid-2000s. I did not actually watch much of the actual Attitude Era one with X-Pac and the New Age Outlaws and Triple H.
Well,
because I've just never watched much of that period.
You're missing out on some really, really great stuff. Okay, so out of the incarnations that you did watch, I'm guessing the most recent is the one you're gonna take claim for?
Honestly, no. I'm gonna say the older one. I'm gonna say the one with China.
Yeah, I mean that is kind of fitting because of who the last one where they were fighting Vince McMahon and the Spirit Squad. It was
juvenile. They were like, oh, we're gonna pick our boogers and we're gonna drop poop on you.
Hey, it was always juvenile. There was nothing about it that wasn't juvenile. It was sophoristic humor on par with fart jokes and pointing to boobs. But that was pretty much what the Attitude Era was.
But in the mid-2000s, they went PG and they couldn't even point to the boobs and talk about penises anymore. So
whoa. They may not have been able to talk about it, but the WWE actually released shirts that said Vince McMahon likes or loves, and then had a picture of a rooster implying that he liked cock. There was a scene on Monday Night Raw.
That was the best they had, and even that was just.
It gave us Big Dick Johnson. That version of DX gave us big. Whatever. You're jealous, man, because Big Dick Johnson got the ladies. That's all it was.
I'm sure. All the fat, ugly ones, sure.
Hey, big women need love too, man. That's all I'm going to say about that. But you're 100% right. That new version of DX, I think, was strictly for nostalgia factor only because Shawn Michaels was a born-again Christian. Can't really do too much, and then what they did try to do, it was hilarious, but it was pretty much just Triple H being Triple H, like having him and Candice Michelle sitting there and standing at a table and getting something under the table, and it wound up being two girls doing it. I mean, there was some good stuff in there, but in large part it was just a nostalgia factor. Is there anybody that I haven't covered that you guys would like to talk about? Jaime, what's the one stable that we haven't mentioned thus far?
You have already mentioned WCW stable, so this one is at the tail end. Since I was thinking about the natural born thrillers, like another what if. What if, the WWE stuck with them after the invasion angle? Like, you see, you had how many, 5'7" guys who were Vince McMahon type guys, the big bodied, tall, good looking guys. And some of them could actually, perform good on the mic. See, you had your Chuck Palumbos. Mark Jindrak isn't that bad as well. So, what could have been if they had stuck as a stable after the invasion angle? Could they been big stars before eventually splitting up into their own singles careers?
Now, correct me if I'm wrong here, but Chuck Palumbo was in that stable you speak of, correct?
Yeah.
So, if Chuck Palumbo stays in that stable, we don't get the Billy and Chuck commencement ceremony, which means we don't get to see Eric Bischoff in 5 pounds of makeup. We don't get the debut of 3 Minute Warning. Billy Gunn doesn't get 2-3 more tag team title reigns. So I don't hate that team didn't stay together. There was so much wrong with how the invasion angle went down. If that's the biggest problem you have with it, you're a very optimistic person. Alec, what's the one stable that we haven't brought up that you would like to discuss?
We have to kind of talk about the biggest one in wrestling right now, and that's the Bullet Club.
I knew it was coming. I knew it was a dangerous subject when I brought it up, that eventually that group was going to be named. So let's talk about it. People have been clamoring that the Bullet Club should come to the WWE. The pieces are literally there. Anderson, Gallows, Balor, AJ. When should this happen, and who's the leader?
Well, when should it happen? It should have happened about 2 or 3 years ago. Because now no one cares about the Bullet Club anymore. It's last year.
No one cares about the Bullet Club.
But if it were to happen now, it should be Finn Balor as the leader, and it should basically just be almost a reboot. It should just be them redoing it.
If they reach the WWE, the others jump ship to the WWE. There are rumors that Adam Cole's coming. So I think it would be a fitting storyline for AJ Styles and Finn Balor to feud over the leadership of the Bullet Club.
Well, they gotta have Adam Cole, baby, come out on top, right?
I'm going to refrain from speaking because I'm still on my no indie discussing policy. Now, there are two that we haven't brought up, and those are probably, I know for a fact they are before both of your time. If you guys don't know who the freaking Four Horsemen are, I guarantee you guys don't know who anybody was in the Heenan family or who anybody was in the Dangerous Alliance. Am I wrong on that?
Actually, I know a little bit about the Dangerous Alliance, not too much about the Heenan family.
Speak to me about the Dangerous Alliance. Tell me what you know.
I know it was led by Paulie Dangerously, or Paul Heyman. I know it had Stunning Steve Austin in it, I believe. And
yes.
The guy in the gun segment that I can't remember the name of, even though it's right there on the tip of my tongue.
He was one half of the Hollywood Blondes, a world tag team champion. He was also the Insane. He was in the Ambrose Asylum before Dean Ambrose was thought of. He is the former Cincinnati Bengal, Flying Brian Pillman.
Yes.
Yes.
And that's about all I know of it, other than I've seen a couple matches.
I weep for the future. I weep for the future. Jaime, do you know anything about the Heenan family? Anything?
Nah.
How about the Dangerous Alliance?
Well, aside from the fact that, Steve Austin got his start there and Rick Rude was part of it, if I'm not mistaken.
Very true.
Right?
Yes. In fact, that was one of the reasons we saw Rick Rude go to ECW, was his close relationship with Paul Heyman, and the fact that Rick Rude was in ECW to challenge Shane Douglas, to find Shane Douglas better talent, is how we got Bam Bam Bigelow to Philadelphia. It's how we got a number of primo big-name stars to go to the ECW arena, the bingo hall in South Philadelphia underneath a highway, was because of Paul Heyman's Dangerous Alliance and his relationships with a number of superstars, including Steve Austin, including Rick Rude. But the fact that you two can't tell me anything about the Heenan family. Bobby Heenan, the greatest manager of all time. It hurts. I'm not going to lie. It hurts me as an individual. You guys need to do some homework. You guys need to do some work either on the network or on YouTube and just look at the greatness that was Bobby the Brain Heenan. The whole thing, WrestleManias were built around the Heenan family. Andre the Giant, WrestleMania 3, the biggest match in the history of the WWE was because of Bobby Heenan and the Heenan family. Mr. Perfect, just so many people were a part under the tutelage of Bobby Heenan. You guys need to look this up. I implore you to check it out. The second topic I wanted to discuss here today is the WWE Universal Champion, the next big thing, the Beast Incarnate, the Mayor of Suplex City, Brock Lesnar. First question I want to ask, just to get it out over the way, if Brock Lesnar is the Mayor of Suplex City, does that make Taz the Governor? The Human Suplex Machine? What do you guys thought? Who had a better suplex, Brock Lesnar or Taz?
Alicia Fox. Have you seen her Northern Lights? That suplex is awesome.
I was very disappointed. I'm very disappointed with Alicia Fox and how her career has gone. I think she is a manager that got into the ring and never should have been. But I digress.
Well, diversity of suplexes, it's definitely Taz. But, the ability to pull it off on numerous occasions and the ability to market it into a brand itself, that's definitely Brock. Suplex City.
Yeah, well,
that's more on Paul Heyman, isn't it? That's kind of Brock said one thing off the cuff, and then Paul Heyman turned it into a tagline.
Paul Heyman's done that for everyone he's ever worked with, and you look at it, and Taz can thank Paul Heyman, and Lesnar can very much thank Paul Heyman for everything that's happened in their careers. So I guess the real answer to that question is it's Paul Heyman, isn't it?
Yeah, it's got to be.
Paul Heyman has the best suplex because he has the guy with the best suplex no matter which one you choose. Okay.
Yeah, definitely.
There's an article that's up on RealSport101.com about the 5 men that have a realistic shot to face Brock Lesnar at either SummerSlam or Great Balls of Fire. And let's talk about that pay-per-view name for just 1 second. and we're going to spend just a hair of time on it. Is there a worse name for a pay-per-view than Great Balls of Fire?
Well, goodness gracious, no. That's awful.
Jaime, was there a worse one? In Your House, maybe? Insurrection?
No, nothing beats the Great Balls of Fire.
Taboo Tuesday was terrible.
Next? Are we going to have WWE SmackDown presents Achy Breaky Hearts?
Hey, you know what? I could make a pretty damn good pay-per-view with that. You could feature it around Natalia's quest for breaking Charlotte to get the SmackDown Women's Championship. That could be the main event. You could fill it with the return of Tyson Kidd. And he's going to take on Cesaro in a match. It could be worked and be pretty damn decent. And then you have Billy Ray Cyrus be the special guest referee in a match between two somebodies, and he gets his achy breaky ass kicked. I'm just saying.
Does he get to twerk on Darren Young like his daughter did on Robin Thicke though?
No, somebody'd have to twerk on him. That's how that comes full circle. Either way, I still don't think Achy Breaky Heart is as terrible as Great Balls of Fire. Back to Lesnar. Who do you want him to lose the title to? Will it be Strowman at SummerSlam? Will it be somebody sooner, the likes of Finn Balor, Seth Rollins, Roman Reigns, Bray Wyatt?
For me, I already mentioned that I would want Seth Rollins to be the one to dethrone Brock Lesnar, since he already had the Kingslayer moniker, and definitely he might be the one going over Samoa Joe in that feud. So why not put another Goliath in front of him in Brock Lesnar? Then he feuds with Finn Balor after.
Who should face Bork Laser at Great Balls of Fire? Finn Balor, I guess. Just to get that match out of the way.
Did you just call him? Oh my gosh. You are such an internet smark. I want to reach through Skype and just smack you around a little bit. You both are wrong, and let me tell you why. You know, as much as Seth Rollins and Finn Balor would make excellent matches against Lesnar, it's not believable. You spent years building Brock Lesnar into this superhuman monster, this man among men who has no equal. The only way he lost the title at WrestleMania was because Seth cashed in Money in the Bank. The only way he can lose is to somebody that is bigger and badder than him, and that's Braun Strowman. He's already destroyed Roman Reigns. He's already destroyed John Cena. It's unfathomable to think that anything short of Finn Balor turning into the demon that he is, and pulling out a move that we have never before seen, maybe a 450 splash with a chair underneath him, or literally stabbing Brock Lesnar repeatedly in the abdomen. That's the only way anybody's going to win like that. It has to be Strowman. It has to be Braun Strowman.
You know what I would kill to see? I would kill to see broken Matt Hardy versus Brock Lesnar.
Why?
Because that would be awesome. You could dip Brock Lesnar in the lake of restoration or whatever, and Taz could come out.
Well, hell, if you're going to do that, why not just have, Lesnar show up to the ranch or whatever it's called. He gets dipped in the lake, and out comes James Ellsworth. Out comes Gilbert. Out comes Spike freaking Dudley. Who the hell cares? Broken Matt Hardy, as much as he's been teasing it in every Raw he comes out on, it's not going to happen in the WWE. Because they're
it'll happen. I've heard
they're riding the nostalgia train
it badly, and so it'll happen. They probably won't call it Broken Matt Hardy, but it'll happen, and it'll be terrible.
They're riding the nostalgia train of the Hardy Boys are back. It's the same way you're not going to see the charismatic enigma Jeff Hardy come back. Matt Hardy needs to stay right where he is. They need to do the same thing with the Hardys that they did with the Dudleys. Let them run for 6 months to a year as being a dominant tag team. Let the fans get out all their chants. Let the fans get out everything they want to see about everything that is the Hardy Boys and, the Cameron, North Carolina native veteran wrestlers that are going to come in and take the tag team by storm, and then let them go away at WrestleMania, let them disappear, let them make money on a Legends contract, and just go away. We don't need to see broken Matt Hardy. We don't need to see the charismatic enigma Jeff Hardy. They need to just be the Hardy Boys and just go away.
That. Jeff, literally every major reporter in wrestling has been saying they want a Jeff Hardy singles main event run, and has all the makings to go into the creative team when he retires.
Right.
So.
But one thing you're missing, they've already done this 3-4 years ago. Because what other big WWE tag team went to TNA, broke up, and one of the guys became a main event world champion?
The difference between the Dudleys and the Hardys, though, is at this point, Matt and Jeff are on equal footing in terms of being major main event single stars. No. And also, they wanted to do Bully Ray in WWE, but they couldn't because they didn't want to use the word bully.
It doesn't matter. They can't use the broken trademark right now either. They're still pending litigation.
So they'll just call him Reborn Matt Hardy. With Bully Ray, the bully
They can't use Reborn either. Impact's got that trademark with Matt Sydal.
Okay, then they'll call him Shattered Matt Hardy.
No, they just need to let Matt Hardy go be Matt freaking Hardy version 2, and then that's it.
But he won't get over like that, and people will keep chanting, delete, 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 and they'll have to acknowledge it somehow.
Then let them chant it. How many people were chanting for the Bullet Club for a year, and they still haven't gotten that?
Well, they kind of did.
No.
Not counted. Not counted.
No. Anyway, Jaime, I don't even remember where this question started.
It started with Braun Strowman and Brock Lesnar.
Okay, let's go with, since he wanted to bring up Matt Hardy, should we see broken Matt Hardy in the WWE?
Well, I think I agree more with Ed. Like, I think they're only bringing back the Hardys like they did with the Dudleys. But rumor has it that Jeff is going to have his singles run, so I'll just wait till then. But right now, I still believe that they're just being brought back as a nostalgia act like the Dudleys.
Well, guys, we are about near the end of things. We didn't really talk a lot about the action, but let's preview next week's show. We're going to talk about the death of WCW at great length. We're also going to preview Backlash, as we have 5 confirmed matches right now, whether it be the WWE Championship match between Jinder and Randy Orton, or Shinsuke Nakamura taking on Dolph Ziggler. The women are doing something, the tag teams are doing something, Breezango is taking on the Usos, so we got all that to look forward to, and stay tuned at some point, either this week or next, depending on scheduling, we are going to have a special edition of the Caps Locks and Chair Shots podcast, where me and Danny D are going to riff and get everything out in the open of all the controversial topics you have in the wrestling world. So, for all of us here at the Caps Locks and Chair Shots podcast, we are going to say sayonara, but before we go, we're going to tell you where you can find us. Alex, where can people find you on Twitter?
Find me on Twitter at @officialunfunny.
All right, officialunfunny on Twitter. He also has a YouTube channel you can check out. He's a big name on social media now. Jaime, the recent college graduate who is going to be a voice of the people in the Philippines, where can they find you on Twitter?
Right now I have a new account, so follow me at TheGreatJLA.
Is that's like the 4th new account you've had in the 6 weeks we've been doing this?
No. No, because the Jaime Luis did not work for me, so it was already taken. So I was thinking of another name, so since I like Austin Aries, so I thought of TheGreatJLA.
Well, you are the one, the only. I guess I'm going to have to start calling you The Great as well. All right, and ladies and gentlemen, you can find me in all the dealings with the Caps Locks and Chair Shots podcast on Twitter at CLANDCS. That's CLANDCS on Twitter. And if you're looking for this podcast on YouTube, you can find it at Caps Locks and Chair Shots. Just search that into the toolbar, and you'll be able to find us there. You can also find us on SoundCloud. Be sure to look for both myself and Jaime on RealSport101.com. He does all the stuff with 205 Live. I do most of the recaps and all those little-known wrestling stories you may not have known about, and apparently my co-hosts don't know about either. That's all we have on the Caps Locks and Chair Shots podcast. And as always, ladies and gentlemen, if you're not down with us, we got just 2 words for you. Keep listening.